Before I start this video, I want to say that my channel just barely hit 4,000 subscribers, which to me is kind of a big deal. So I want to say thank you to all the 4,000 subscribers, and I look forward to many more. I think without the positive comments and the genuine interest in this channel, it would be much more difficult for me to keep pushing forward with this channel because it is just in my spare time. But I appreciate all the positivity and all the subscribers, and thank you, and let's get into it. So we started out, we're getting new cabinets, but we ended up skim coating this entire room because the drywall was really bad. Huh, Royce?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, there's a hole in the floor here. Well, there was a divot in it, so we got to pull that up. All we did is we cut along this truss, well, this floor joist, and then pulled all the nails everywhere else, and then pulled the whole thing out. So this joist was the one that was really sagging bad. The ones next to it are sagging a little bit, but this one was sagging like a half of an inch. But I looked at the whole thing and there appears to be nothing wrong with the actual joist. I was worried that it got cut into and it was compromised. If that's the case, then you got to run another joist. You probably got to take out more plywood and run it all the way to the bearing points back there. And in this case, about midway through this whole house is another bearing point. So we'd have to replace that whole thing. But because this isn't compromised, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shim it up. So I went through, and at that point is a good high point, and then over to this point is another good high point. So I measured down, and I figured that it's 1/4 inch there, 3/8 inch there, and another 3/16 there is where I got to start the shim. And then I measured about every foot, got a 1/2 inch sag there, 3/8 there, and so on. So I got to cut the shim to fit. I got to cut 3, one for each of these 3 joists. I'm going to re-duct tape that while this is exposed because that's leaking air. The objective here is to make it flat, but not necessarily level. So right here is the first mark, and we scribed a line from this first measurement on down to the second measurement, and it goes kind of in a straight line. But then you can see from the second to the third measurement, it's actually jogs off a bit, because this is corresponding to the imperfections in the joist that we're trying to compensate for. Hopefully that makes sense, but if you cut it flat, then you wouldn't really fix the thing. The first shim is cut and I've pushed it underneath the plywood. You can see there's subfloor adhesive both on the bottom side and the top side of this shim. This is important because it'll stop it from squeaking in the future, because there's going to be movement and flex and expansion and contraction with the moisture and various conditions. So make sure you use subfloor adhesive. Okay, we got glue on everything. About ready to drop this in, except for we still need to tape that vent, and then we're going to drop it in. Everything's flat-ish. Everything's screwed in. We use deck screws about every 6 inches apart, kind of in a zigzag form, which is total overkill. You can use just like 8 penny nails is what code would say. But now that's flat, and we need to put this other garbage onto, then we're done. Flooring, yes. Let me say right now that the right way to do this is to pull up all this flooring and put the proper material, which would be the 3/4 inch, probably a tongue and groove OSB. But on remodels, sometimes it's unreasonable to redo the entire thing. So having said that, I'm trying to match what is already there, which is a 1/2 inch plywood covered by 3/8 inch particle board, which is super weird, but that's what we're gonna do. And before I move on further, what I have to do is address a couple of issues. One, right here is a little bit high, so I'm gonna take a belt sander and I'm gonna zip that down a little bit so we get a nice level plane between the new stuff and the old stuff. And it's also super out of square. So I cut this board square and then I scribed some lines where it actually hit. So I got to notch that and make that, you know, work out better than it is right now. Next video, can lights. Yay!